With this cousin of mine, ne, I was always so much stronger than her in everything, like when we were growing up, but I was the lowlier one. She was sister popularity, you know. I was a dark girl, she was a yellow bone, and that was heavily favored on the come up. So I was kind of always tagging behind her type thing. She was more like boss scheme. And I didn't care, I didn't mind. I was secondary to her. But just as it happened with the case of Jacob and Esau, God chose Jacob and not Esau, even though Esau was born first. And when Esau was born, Jacob hooked or grabbed the heel of his brother Esau. And that was a prophecy to basically display that the older will serve the younger. My cousin was older than me by just a couple of months. We were both born in the same year. Alright, but she had a lot more oomph and girth when we were growing up. Because of also being a yellow bone, she was always invited to little beauty pageants to join them as a kid, like like Little Miss Soweto or whatever. She was always invited to that. She was a very pretty little girl that became indeed a pretty young woman type thing. And I was happy to be in her shadow. I never complained about my lowlier position in comparison to her, but I've always slayed her when it comes to my wisdom, my general way of thinking about life, my life decisions, and of course my intelligence. I was just the killer student at school. I was the one with the bright future. I was the one that, even though I wasn't too popular in our very formative years, I ultimately became somewhat kind of reasonably popular in high school. Mara, in my primary school and in my formative years, I was just whatever, man. You know how ignored dark black girls can be. When you're like dark in complexion, it's like you just fade in the background. But as the years progressed, that I sort of kind of grew out of that. I was like an ugly duckling that became a swan type establishment thing. And it was when I became a swan that my cousin felt beleaguered and overwhelmed. Like you don't get to coo me. And on top of that, when we were kids, she was taller than me. But then I got my growth spurt and I became like I towered. I towered over her like a model. Like I'm 1.75 meters tall. My cousin is one of those average height type people walking these streets, right? So that also became something that got me a little bit more noticed than normal. She was forward, and so she started dating first, dating early and what have you. And every so often the guys that she was dating were like, when they would have met me, right? Like some of the guys that she would hang out with and she was dating, they would meet me in the early stages of high school. One guy, for instance, met me when I was like in grade maybe 8 or something, and then when I was like in halfway of grade 9, he saw me again and he was like, whoa. And he was basically saying, whoa, you're growing well, your puberty is doing a wonderful thing. My cousin's puberty also came earlier, her period came first. She's just one of those, her whole thing was fast tracked. But then I later became something kind of attractive too, right? And that is what caused a lot of jealousy in her, where I'm concerned, where she started out even when we would do little competitions, she would be the Beyonce and I would be either Kelly or one of the other girls of Destiny's Child, and I was content with that. Like I properly did not care to overwhelm her. But when it came to school, when it came to responsibilities, dating, like just going to parties and stuff like that, I was not fast at all. I was a little bit more paced when I was a kid, and on top of that, I was an academic. I was smart. So basically I was the kid whose future was set. Even though she was not much in school on the come up, she becomes much later on. Lo and behold, that whole thing eventually became a fact. My responsibility helped me along, and my intelligence pushed me along quite far in corporate. I worked hard and I grew fast, and I became successful very young. And that was when my cousin went green, purple, pink, yellow, all different kinds of colors of the rainbow, and decided that she's not going to turn to witchcraft. She had betrayed me already in the past, and I had forgiven her. I did not imagine that after that first betrayal she would do it again, but guess what? She done did it. So to her, it was like, since I could not subdue her back then by just giving her a whole bunch of attitude when she was going through a lot, because one time I went through a lot and she displayed her betrayal stance on me. Like I said, I forgave her. When I got my life back together again, she was like, she's gonna keep rising. Wapora. She's gonna keep rising. So this time around she went for witchcraft, which apparently would handle me indefinitely. Witchcraft which apparently would handle me well into the future. So it was exactly like the case of Jacob and Esau with my cousin, where a parent chooses, God chooses Jacob. Like the world had chosen my cousin to be the big thing above me ever since we were kids. She was the one that was being called, like I said, to the pageants to go and do modeling competitions. And then later on in high school, I became the one that was literally scouted by modeling scouts at malls when I would go to the mall to watch a movie with my mom. And they would give me, cards? What is, business cards on some call me. And so that you can get, assigned to this particular modeling agency. I did not want to become a model, and so I never ever took any opportunity up when Face of Africa was like a whole new thing, and African girls were joining the modeling industry. It was becoming quite popular. The days of Oluchi and Alec Weck and whatnot. I was encouraged by a lot of kids in my school and teachers even to join Face of Africa. I didn't, because I didn't want to be a model type establishment thing. I was an academic type establishment thing. That's what I was interested in. And for my cousin, it was like when we were kids, I was the one that was always invited to modeling competitions to go and join Miss Soweto, Miss this and Miss what. I was the one that everybody thought was beautiful, and now everybody is busy everywhere we go. They're like, oh, are you a model? Oh, you should join Face of Africa. I'm walking with you in the mall, and they're giving you cards to become a model, to join a modeling agency type thing. It really got to her. One time we were just walking in downtown Johannesburg, and some dude from a casting agency stopped me on some, don't you want to make some money? And I could see that my cousin was physically uncomfortable in front of me. That's how things, tables turned. When I got older, I grew into my body. My dog skin became, I guess, something that was benefiting me now as opposed to disadvantaging me, and my cousin couldn't stand it. So it was that, and then on top of that, I was intelligent, I was smart, I was studying, I was at school, I was getting everything that worked for me, and I ultimately became more successful than her. And then she was like, I'm gonna stop her with witchcraft. So she started out good peoples, but I was the kid that came out of the mother's womb clawing the toe, or the heel, of my older brother, because I was the one that was chosen. And so therefore, for those reasons, tables turned, okay, later on in life. And now she wreaked havoc. So when I say that my cousin is exactly like the attack on Israel by Hamas, she caught me off guard. Broke my teeth. She took out my 2 front teeth and made me look like Bugs Bunny when they grew back. And I am still bewildered to this day with shock as to what in the world happened. Because like I said, sofa slahlane, we were so tight that nobody could have ever separated us. Very, very close. Everybody, wherever we went, knew that the other person was going to be there. We were attached at the hip. And for somebody with whom you're that, to suddenly disappear and not be at your wedding, not be there to not raise your children, but be niece and be auntie to your children and see them as niece and nephew. For somebody of that nature to not be there at your baby showers, know your children. Somebody with whom you were that close to not be anywhere to be found in the later life, and on top of that, you don't seem too distressed about her disappearance from the face of the earth. With it too, you spread rumors at the time when everything of her life was falling apart. And strangely as well, around the same time when everything in her life was falling apart, everything in your life was getting raised from the ground again. Was getting raised from the ground at all, not even again, because it was the beginning of it. And you had come out initially having been quite average and mediocre, and then you suddenly just skyrocketed. But Karabo fell on her teeth at the same time. Just like the attack, Israel, on the south side of Israel by Hamas. Did I say Gaza earlier? I apologize. By Hamas. The attack by Hamas on Israel was a pernicious, stealthy one. It was well orchestrated. We understand that. It took a lot of planning. I was listening to a video, Tom Hughes and some other people who were making commentary about the war in Israel right now, and how it is that Israel is asked, that was a defense failure. An intelligence failure. How did Israel overlook this? And one of the guys responded by saying, well, when you think about intelligence, you're always thinking digital intelligence. And a lot of times when you focus on digital intelligence, you forget to pay attention to the fact that other people know that the world is so digitized that there is still value in analog. And there is also value in paper. So Hamas, it is suspected, they went rudimentary, like elemental in how it is that they were going to attack Israel. And so for those reasons, because they were not using sophisticated weapons that could be picked up by digital platforms, they were able to, I guess, be a surprise. They were able to be a shock when it is that they did what they did. Because even the way that they went into Israel, they were on foot, they were on on motorcycles, para-freaking gliding, for crying out loud. They went in by land, sea. They used the ganda, like, what do they call them? Tractors. These ganda, man. What in the world is a ganda in English? I forget. Bulldozers. Yeah, they used bulldozers. They did not use tanks. They did not use military tanks with sophisticated software. They used a ganda that is like the worst, like the most analog thing you can ever find on the earth. And that's how they were able to surprise attack. They used paper and they used analog methods of stealthily piercing in. And now a whole bunch of Muslims across the world are celebrating that are pro-Palestine, and it is disgusting to observe. Nonetheless, it happened, but they were naive to think that they can use this, and if at all they had perhaps started with an analog strategy, however, with the latter affliction using digital strategies, and they'd also held hands with other surrounding nations, maybe they stood a chance. But instead they did this like Lone Rangers, and then called on Lebanon, called on Syria, called on Iran to join the party. So they're basically calling on nations that did not intend to go to war, not yet anyway, not planning this thing, to go to war. Lo and behold, indeed, some airstrike came from Lebanon, but the reaction to that was, what's going on, Lana? Lebanon. Right now, like, here it is that we're getting attacked by Hamas in Palestine, and you are trying to join the party. We will also lambaste you too. So I don't really know what the reaction is going to be to the Lebanese airstrike that also landed more or less at the same time type thing. But it is clear that these people went in Lone Ranger alone, called for help later. It looks like something that was raised up by God in confounding their speech for the very purpose of bringing about Ezekiel 38:39. I keep saying that. Yeah, for the very purpose of fulfilling Bible prophecy. It was an unwise move, just as what my cousin did to me was unwise, because I, just like Israel, am far more advanced. I, just like Israel, have got far greater capabilities militarily. I, just like Israel, frankly also have a history of being the source of support for portions of Palestine. You know how Gaza Strip, electricity is provided there by Israel, and Israel was like, why in the world would we want to continue to provide electricity in this region so that they can wreak havoc in our lives? So they have turned off electricity in the Gaza Strip. That's what's good. Israel, who are in a position to provide such electricity as that. That's what's good. My cousin, I used to serve her ways. She was struggling a little bit. I was the one that would give her like brand spanking new shoes. Like, we used to wear the same shoe size when I was in high school, but then when I got out of high school, my foot grew a size bigger. So she's a size 6 and I'm a size 7. Therefore, I remember giving her a whole bunch of brand spanking new shoes from San Marina. Like, they were brand new, because I was out here trying to fit into a size 6 when I'm a size 7. So I eventually just accepted my shoe size because I wanted to be a small foot, which I just am not. I'm a tall girl, so ready to accept a bigger foot than normal. Karabo. I wanted to have a tiny little foot because of being a girl and wanting to be small. I've never been that tiny. Even my hands are bigger than I would appreciate, and I just accepted that, right? Eventually, I did. It took me years to eventually accept that I would squeeze into some pretty small shoes, you guys, just so I could look like I'm still a size 6. It was terrible. I'm so glad I eventually accepted that I'm a size 7. Anyway, yeah, so I gave her a whole bunch of good shoes. I would also give her a whole bunch of good clothes. Her baby shower, I orchestrated it. Not only that, I bought everything. The people just had to rock up and chop up some vegetables. That's all they had to do, but it was funded by me. The first one ever. And it was a surprise. So when she arrived, she didn't even know that I paid for everything. She thought we all contributed, but I was the only one that paid. And the humility, even though I wasn't even born again at the time, was such that I didn't tell her that I'm the only one that funded this whole affair. That's who I was. So I'm like a provider of electricity at the Gaza Strip. Next thing, you out here bombing me and also infiltrating me from Yona Gaza Yadeng. I am going to lambaste you. I will, just as this headline reads, turn you into a desert wasteland. A desert wasteland. I have always lambasted this cousin in everything. Even the first time when she hurt me, I forgave her, but not before first telling her where to get off on somewhere. Now you're untrustworthy. How are you going to be such a fair weather friend? How are you going to be such a fair weather cousin? She accepted her responsibility and we reconciled, we reunited. Yeah, so I already had seen that she had it in her to do me in dirty like that, and I forgave her. And then she went right back to being, I guess, my best friend, only for her to, this time around, attack me in a way that I never saw coming, because the woman went analog. The woman went paper-based instead of using computers. The woman used a bulldozer, ganda, instead of a tank. And so when she came at me, I never saw it coming. And for 9 years, I am still recovering. The carnage is real and alive. It was a violent attack on my person, and anyone at all that is standing with my cousin is irresponsible. Frankly, there is no there wasn't, like right now, there is a lament in the body of Christ about how it is that on the earth at large, there is a lack of appropriate outrage at what happened in Israel at this the commencement of this war. Yes, we thank God that America, Joe Biden, has made it clear that they stand with Israel. That's what he had to do. Otherwise, it would have been a hypocritical thing for him to do for them to continue to stand with Ukraine in this regard. Because exactly what Vladimir Putin did, so too did Hamas. Suddenly just attack a country and they didn't see it coming. Except Vladimir Putin was not even that sudden. He kind of let them know that I'm going to come at you pouncing. Hamas just struck people by surprise. Okay? That's what's good. So the US is standing. US presidency, the executive of the US, the head of state, essentially the country at large, is represented by its leadership, and they are saying yes. But there are news networks in America. What in the world is America? I don't know what to do with that country. There are news networks like MSNBC in the US that are saying that the attack, the Hamas attack on Israel, desires context. It needs context because we don't really understand what's going on. It's like, MSNBC, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, shut up. Do you not see all of this is rubbish? And when the narrative in the news media, when propaganda is not thoroughly doing what needs to be done, there is then not sufficient outrage. MSNBC or whatever did not, when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, stand for Vladimir Putin or say that Vladimir Putin is coming from somewhere. And yet here it is that has been said about Israel. And it is basically concluded that the reason why this is even the case is because of the fact that it's Israel. It's anti-Semitic, and that's always been a challenge on Israel pretty much since the beginning of time, because the Lord made it clear that if you sin against me, I am going to make you a scorn among all the nations. I'm going to scatter you all across the countries, and everybody there's going to hate you. So anti-Semitism will always be a thing. So it's fulfilled prophecy that MSNBC should say this. And when propaganda, mainstream propaganda, is speaking such rubbish, the only apparent mainstream media source that is speaking appropriately about what's going on in Israel is AON, and maybe some other ones in India, right? Like, who is this? You get my cooking him. We all know whatever. They're busy speaking what is regular about what's happening. But in the United States of America, even though the head of state, even though Joe Biden has said we stand with Israel and Israel has every right to protect itself against this Hamas attack, there are news networks in America basically saying, now we need to give context. And now what's going on is that in Europe there are marches on the street by Palestinians standing for Israel, despite all this, not Israel, what is this? For what's happened, for basically their pro-Hamas type thing. On some, it's about time this needs to happen now, but they are premature. They're also premature. They're also premature to react. How in the world do they not foresee that they're going to get lambasted? They're going to get lambasted. You're standing for a side that is inevitably going to lose. You've got temporary success, temporary power. You caught people off guard. You literally slapped them with the 2 feet. They broke some teeth. And they are now hooking up a response strategy that is going to obliterate Hamas as a terrorist organization. It's not going to be able to stand. It's not going to be able to stand. Maybe what's going to be left in the future is Hezbollah, some other random terrorist proxies, countries will stand. The group that is Hamas on its own, it's over. They are done. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this, the leader, Hamas, himself will be dead. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. Like, it's inevitable. They're going to get crushed. Militarily, Israel is superior in the worst way. So when you don't then go attack somebody that is superior to you like that, you're a ticking time bomb. You're literally writing your last will and testament on that day. And when my cousin discovered witchcraft, she became like Hamas. She went primitive. She went analog. She went and attacked me perniciously and stealthily in a way that would not be visible. Like back in the day, she betrayed me outwardly in a way that I could see. This time around, This time around, she fetched witchcraft on me. Something I did not see coming because I never would have fathomed my cousin would ever go out like that. I thought she was classy. I thought she had swagger. I still respected her. I never ever lost any respect. There was just a way that we carried ourselves as little divas that frankly would never have lent me over to the conclusion that my cousin would ever go out like that. It was just out of this world unexpected. That my family members have gotten themselves involved in, and my former friends, I didn't see it coming. Hey, Batung, we grew up laughing at it. We grew up laughing at witchcraft and witches and the things they do. We grew up also saying that it doesn't exist, like it's not a thing. We grew up basically mocking and teasing it and imagining that it's a sport for not only poor people but also people that live in the rural areas. Laba pumeba Rustenburg abo Limpopo yibo abahamba la emgaqweni ngeibogi. Baba ko Limpopo, Northwest, rusty, those the ones with them ashy knees in the kraal tending to sheep. They're the ones that are always doing witchcraft. I apologize. Let me go back to English. We always used to underestimate witchcraft to a point where we imagined only poor people did it, and these people that are always ashy, tending to sheep in the rural areas, they're the only ones. Yeah, that's how we wrote it off. So for me to be dealing with some urbanized city girls out here literally running like the Flash in the concrete jungle that is Johannesburg, never saw it coming. There's one chick that bewitched me that was from Limpopo. I was like, typical velo pumema plazin. That's why I'm tagatil mara lezinja lezizikule Soweto. Yo, I don't get it. Baba Morandong Bako Sentin, Ba Wham. Excuse me, Mr. Mengao, where's your car? I didn't see it. I'm a Model C that speak English with a twang. I never saw it coming. So they basically were like Hamas, who decided to use paper instead of computers. And so intelligence failure of an abysmal note was the part of Israel then. How did this happen? It surprised us. Like the Yom Kippur War of 19 what? Surprise attack. I was attacked surprise, and it laid me waste. It killed. It destituted me. It made me so unhappy. It took away yonkinto kadribwa. I never would have quit school myself. Instead, my school spat me out. I was like, how's this even happening? Why won't everything fell apart for me in my company? Blah blah, guys. Like I lost everything in one sitting, and at the same time I was falling, my cousin was rising. Same time. And then I get a dream where she's trying to like basically gaslight the living daylights out of me and making me think, not making me think, but making everyone around me think witchcraft is not even real. Yeah, this cousin of mine infiltrated my land with a parachute. Who in the world sees a land, air, and sea, guys? Like, who in the world sees a parachute coming, paragliding in? Who sees it in advance? It's not like it can be picked up. Radar vibes. Because of this technology, by some, indeed, like radar technology, it can't be pinged. It's not like a drone that you operate with a remote and some batteries. Like it's parachute. Guys, they look like one of the guys came in got parachute. He paraglided in. That is something that you are not going to see until you see it. It's not like an airplane that you can see from a mile away coming. Dikuta, old school, likely, like, you know how right now they want to try and make everything electrical. Electric cars, in order that we might be surveilled through our vehicles. So they can't stand the old school vehicles that, you know, you use. They don't use electricity. They apparently guzzle up a whole bunch of diesel, but the government can't track you with that car. Suzuki Baki 1984. Ain't nobody gonna find you with that. You can drive into the White House with it with nobody picking it up, and so far as you find nice corners to try and stealthily worm your way in with it. These people were driving such old motorcycles, such old, like paragliding, parachute, go fair. Who goes to war in a parachute? I guess it happens, but these days everything is advanced. It was a regular, it was yellow and pink and purple. It looked like something that you do for fun in Jefela as a young kid exploring the ocean, or as a young kid exploring the riverside, where your parents own a little bit of a cottage by the river, guys. And you come into Israel on that. Using, and also, when it comes to artillery, they used AK-47. Like the AK-47. They're not even trying to do advanced, like weapons that would require you to do an arms deal that might be traced or tracked. They used old weapons and old not technology. They didn't even use any technology. They were entirely, analog is a bit of an exaggeration. Yeah. They just went paper-based, like the Flintstones. They were like Stone Age in their attack. That's exactly what my cousin did. She came in, got parachute, and I did not see that because abantu that come in a parachute, guys, we always underestimated them. Witchcraft is that parachute. It is a paraglider. It is iskuta sakdala. Do you understand? Sa isuzu that frankly has like been serviced like a million times since it was brand spanking new in 1974. She rocked up with a primitive method, but it's old, tried and tested by an ancient spirit, which is the devil, to successfully topple a person's tables over, to gripa a person, to take out a tooth and bring it to the ground. I tried without them seeing that it's you. Everything of mine fell apart and I had no idea what had hit me, and it was from many angles that this came in, and it laid a whole bunch of stuff waste. But it was naive. Cousin Due, you were naive, and I am going to make out of you a desert wasteland. Do you understand? Otoba Sahari or Kalahari. Desert. You will roll around like a tumbleweed when I am done with you. You came for the wrong woman. all of y'all actually, that put witchcraft on me, you did it because I was too strong to handle physically. You could not just merely sabotage me. You couldn't just gossip me. That wasn't enough because I was going to grow anyway. So you went below the belt. You fetched witchcraft. You found out about sorcery. You realized that the people in Rustenburg that are ashy, that have never seen a television in their lives, you realized they were onto something. You realized Uguti, Lobtagati that is floating around in the rural areas of South Africa, making people see ghosts when they walk from the spaza shop at just 6 p.m. in the evening. You realized they were onto something. So now you decided to bring a ghost to South Africa. Josie, go Johannesburg. Sorry, Josie Maboneng. You decided to come and bring Ikhasi Yase Rustenburg, the ghost from Rustenburg. Why later when I lashed and Jeffel and Bryanston Senton. Why will I lash level Hevel? Why will I Dumba Momo North riding? And you just slept like a whole ghost at 6 p.m. so the sun is still somewhat out, and you put it slap bang in the middle of 14th Avenue, go MTN, and now motorists are crashing cars in the middle of the day, and nobody understands because there was a sighting of something weird. You have brought an alien invasion into the inner city, and Nina, you migrant laborers, you did that, taking for granted that it's analog and not digital, because these digitized guys, they've got such sophisticated weapons defense systems that we can't fight them. We don't have the resources to fight them with technology. So we're gonna go right back to paper. Yo, go paper. People are trying to do CBDCs. We're now busy. Ka 5 opo ele ya 1994. Hey guys, yes, it's okay. But what needs to be understood is that the Lord is gonna lay you waste. Those who are with me are more numerous than those who are with them. And currently you're taking away my Mona Lisa smile. You're making me sick. I'm struggling to be okay every single day. I am afflicted. Yesterday I couldn't even talk at the right level of voice projection because of the attacks that I was enduring from this animal in America. And I was lamenting, and I had gotten reprieve for just 5 seconds from my cousin, and then I dream about cousin, yeah, humiliating the living daylights out of me in a dream with gaslighting, where she convinced successfully, which is not something she can ever prosper to do in waking life, everybody that there is no such thing as witchcraft. I'm sorry, girl, it's 2023 and witches are being interviewed by the news media. You cannot deny that. Just the other day, I did a whole segment where I was sharing a show that was covered on SABC News called Expressions, where they were talking about the traditional practice of uktwala, the traditional practice of basically carrying itigoloshi, or a ghost, or a spogo, that would be a ghost. What was this? Or with your own family members, or a snake, in order that you might gain riches. And sangomas were confessing to this being a reality, and people telling their stories. And SABC, my girl, a news network in this country that is highly respected. If anything, I think it's the top news network in the country. So if it's being covered by SABC, you cannot then rock up like we used to back in 1994, back in 2000 and metric, and laugh at witchcraft as if though it is not even real. And all the stories that we heard from Rustenburg as Haisuga, it's myths, it's just an urban legend. You cannot in 2023 claim that witchcraft is an urban legend, girl, not when SABC News is covering it. So your argument is gonna fall and be blown out the water entirely. You cannot convince anyone today that witchcraft is not real. You can't. Over and above that, there are entire pastors that are using occult magic in churches, having come forward to confess, and later coming forward and confessing that that's what they did when they repent and give their lives to Jesus Christ. There are just too many testimonies. There are too many YouTube channels dedicated to witchcraft. There are too many people experimenting, and there are also too many people trapped that want to get out of this. And so they're actively seeking out help. Therefore, these days, when you say witchcraft doesn't work, it's not real, they might perhaps, your best argument at this point would be one accuser. That you can run with. You can run with she's accusing me falsely, but you can never run with it doesn't exist, because it's 2023, honey. It is no longer so concealed in the shadows that people are like literally writing it off as, oh no, that's not even real. It's definitely real. I never used to believe it until I saw it for myself, and enough people are seeing it for themselves. It's no longer 1994 wake up. It is no longer 2001 wake up. It's 2023. The world is coming to an end. There are sightings of aliens in the world's superpower, and they are being covered by the world's superpower's mainstream media outlets because people are seeing aliens in their backyard. Just the other day, they covered that story in Las Vegas. In the US right now, a couple of weeks ago, there was a whole congressional hearing on alien sightings and alien activity, like biologics were discovered. In other words, life from other planets. It was alive. It was biologically there at some point. There are people coming forward with such things as these. So that which used to be otherworldly and extraterrestrial, and so therefore what we see in movies and can't possibly be real, is being spoken about by very big, important people that are taken seriously. No longer is anybody going to write me off as a foil hat wearing rando girl sitting on a mountaintop saying the end is near, because right now it is a reality that mainstream media outlets that are well respected and trusted by the world are covering paranormal activity. So you cannot deny the existence of witchcraft. That's the strategy that I woke up from, where my cousin is gaslighting the living daylights out of me, claiming witchcraft does not work. Girl, in our own country, expressions just covered that abantu bayatwala, and apparently, allegedly, you are one of them. Samaya wrote that a news presenter wako SABC, that young girl, that young lady, and that young gentleman that run that show, expressions that are presenters in that show, Ambani, go tell them they're crazy. Go gaslight them. Go and make them delude their own sense of reality. Ambani told you kulumane SABC News and tell them they're lying. You don't have a defense, don't you see? You're Hamas. You did not think. You came at me ganda. And so now I'm going to come at you with like a tank. I'm going to come at you with the sophistication of military apparel that I've got, coupled with the fact that the world at large, that's what's good, agrees that an attack did happen. The world at large agrees that an attack did happen. You can't deny that an attack did happen. The world agrees that there is witchcraft operating in my life. There's something cultic, spooky, eerie. No one is out here thinking Karabo Mili just fell apart because life happens. And nobody looks at my life like life happens. People understand this is witchcraft. It's just a matter of who done did it. And who done did it is then exposed by who I'm saying did it. And secondly, who acted in a way so as to make it clear they did it. Who made like the Palestinians in Europe, made like the Palestinians in the United States of America, that went to the streets and celebrated an attack against innocent people in Israel. Did you not celebrate when everything of mine was falling apart? You were exactly like those Muslims in other countries, looking at what's going on in the Middle East. You are showing that you are guilty. You displayed at the very beginning of my sorrow that you did this to me by gossiping me and then rejoicing when I fell while you rose. Uzikibile, I did not have to do much. You exposed yourself, and now you're trying to make like R. Kelly and turn back the hands of time. Go back to 1994, where the moment you say Uptagat, everybody's like, Sugar man, that stuff is not even real unless you live in the rural areas. You're taking for granted that we are living in this concrete jungle that is Johannesburg, and no one believes witchcraft except literally even your boss Utwele. Because indeed, your boss Utwele. That's true. Where your subordinates, your colleagues, Batwele. Almost everybody's doing witchcraft to a point where you all gotta protect yourselves from each other. That's what's good. Business is booming for the Sangoma. You cannot deny the presence of witchcraft in a world like that. Celebrities are coming forward. Batwasa girl. Uktwasa is the work of Ubungoma. It's witchcraft. Why in the world would Uboiti Tulo and go out of her way to confess that Sangoma not etwasiting? If at all, like, this stuff is not real, there's nothing in it for her. She would just get looked at as this crazy woman, this crazy no-brainer that made a decision to go and grab a whole woman or a whole bunch of swagger and just muddy her with like a ritual of Uktwasa. Why would Gigi Lemaine do it? Latoya Machene. Remember when Latoya Machene, how it is that we laughed at her? Yeah, because in our age, our peer. And you used to have a rivalry, no Latoya, in high school. That's what's good. Yeah, you are making war with each other concerning boys and who favors who and who's prettier, who's hotter. No nanzolwana le Latoya. High school was not far from where it is that you went to high school. And so you knew Latoya Machene when you were growing up and you didn't like her. And when she trusted, remember how we laughed at her? And Anna, what a turn off. She was among the first celebrities in this country to go Ayotwasa, and it was before it became super popular. After that, a whole bunch of them would just pop out of the woods in the entertainment industry saying no, Kokos Banban. Recently Hulisan is now Koko Hulisan, whatever, guys. Your little practices are whack. They make people nar. It's that basic. So hamba uyokhuluma no Holisani, Ravelo, what's her name? Hamba nyokulo, go and talk to Lisani, go and talk to Boiti Tulo, go and talk to Gigi Lamaine, Latoya Machene, go and talk to Kelly Kumalo and call them crazy. Because when you say that witchcraft is not real, you're saying these people they're just empty-handed in the sky but busy, like mysteriously just partaking in funny little mystic practices that do nothing at all. Enough people are involved in witchcraft for this thing to be well regarded, well respected, even even by mainstream media. There's enough paranormal activity on the earth for you to not get away with an argument that witchcraft is not real. But in my dream, you were gaslighting everybody into thinking that witchcraft is not real, and so therefore my accusations are falling on deaf ears. Am I yet making you a desert? Is it happening yet? I've always been the smart one. Do not forget, I've always been the responsible one. So I never went and threw away my life because my life was thrown away. I didn't go and make a baby with a man before I could afford a baby, for crying out loud. I did not just go and waste impilo yam. And so all these years that I've been suffering, struggling, living in squalor and destitution, I've kept myself in a bunch, have I not? And that resistance of temptation is what's embarrassing you. I'm not the baby mama of some deadbeat. I haven't had sex in 12 years because I'm waiting on God for a husband because I chose Christ. I did not compromise my virtue in order to get ahead. I'm also speaking about what you did. And just like Hamas, you exposed yourself real quick. You celebrated too fast. But those who are with me are more numerous than those who are with you. And so therefore, you must understand, I will make out of you a desert wasteland. Everyone that saw you do what you did, is now gravitating away from you, from what the Lord is showing me. They're walking away from you because they are starting to see now that time is progressing. Not only my innocence, but just how savage you are. The cruelty has made even your husband uneasy with sticking around with you because it is rubbing off on him as a reputation what you are, when he did not afflict me nearly as badly as you did. You're carrying this on your own. I was always the smarter one. It was not wise. Cousin, I almost called your name. It was not wise for you to come at me, ka parachute, paragliding in. Because while you might have caught me off guard with witchcraft, you certainly did not enter into a country that would leave the matter be. Now that you have come at me this way, all you did was inspire a whole bunch of anger and a desire for retaliation. And like Bibi, I will tell you that I am going to make out of you a desert wasteland. The Lord has warned you, do you understand? And the Lord gave you grace with that situation, with cancer. But you were so recalcitrant that now you want to make me depressed 24 hours a day until I finally kill myself. You are still trying to end me, and you keep getting given grace and told, repent or perish. Well, this time around, you're gonna just suddenly die. You're gonna suddenly die. Because you came at me in a way that laid me basically almost destitute for almost a decade, and you still don't want to stop. Now you want to finish what you started. I have a big war to fight with many other people, like the whole war in Israel right now with Hamas. There is an outrage in the body of Christ that there isn't sufficient world outrage. People are not reacting the way that they ought. They ought to be more angry, but rather there's a lot of anti-Semitic sentiment against Israel. They're not sufficiently supportive. That's what's going on. With me too, when I lost everything. Even though I was completely innocent, there was not sufficient outrage about what happened to me. In my organization, I was afflicted while I was broad daylight innocent in front of colleagues. I was mistreated and unfairly suspended in front of colleagues I had worked with for 5 years. I was obviously innocent. The case was in my favor. I had evidence that stood erect, firm, and solid in my favor, and HR ignored my innocence. CCMA ignored my innocence, and staff members that could have raised their voices and said, but how do you just fire a woman that did nothing wrong? Kept quiet, and they cowered, and they sat back and they did nothing. Just like what's happening right now with the Hamas attack. Not enough of the world's citizens are in outrage. And so the lack of support, when I suffered the way that I did, everybody equated as, I guess it means I got away with murder. But you see, you might lack support for Israel in this regard. But bottom line is, Israel is gonna go to war. And they're going to obliterate Hamas, whether or not the world supports them. So whether or not you're walking around in a mall in South Africa with a flag that has got the Jewish, with a t-shirt that's got the Jewish flag on it, is irrelevant. I remember thinking that if I had money, I would literally go and buy a t-shirt and have it printed on it, the flag of Israel, and walk around Clearwater Mall with that big gawking Jewish flag on my body, making everybody understand that I am pro-Israel in this season. The way that people did with Ukraine, walking around with flags of Ukraine hanging out on their cars, I would have done just that. Like literally, put in a whole flag, Israel, on my car, and then let it wave as I drive around in these streets. Park in the office in Israel, and then put like a whole Israeli flag even on paste it there. So any Muslim that wants to make beef with me, do you, sister or brother, but I can't. To stand with the side that I have chosen. But I don't have resources. I can't go and make that kind of statement, but I can speak right here where it is that I have my allegiances. But there aren't enough people like me Since the road is narrow that leads to life and few people find it, there aren't many Christians on the earth. So there are many people standing with Israel. And those of us that are standing with Israel, we are being come up against with lots of violence. Others are cowering because of the amount of violence that's going on, because the world does not know who to stand for, because they don't understand who in the world under heaven is in the right. And then they're going to play victim. The people back Hamas, when they're busy getting butchered by Israel, that side, they're going to play victim. They're going to show images of women dead in the street, children dead in the street. They're going to show images of buildings being bombed and be like, see, Israel is a bully. What? You attacked us. Who in the world right now is going around in Russia? Ukraine is not currently sufficiently retaliating against Russia. They're not really throwing bombs inside actual Russia. That's what's good. But even if they were, you must understand that the mainstream media would cover it such that, look, whatever it is that you did to Ukraine, they're just fighting back. But with Israel, they're going to make them look like big bullies, because indeed they've got more weapons and they've got grander intelligence. But somewhere along the way, they're going to make it look as if though, Israel, how could you do this to Palestine? And conveniently neglect to remember that they're the ones that came in with a freaking parachute into the southern border of Israel and just killed some children. That's what's good. Right there on the street, laying them waste. Other people were killed, shot, literally dead in their cars as they were driving. And that's going to be forgotten quickly because of a global anti-Semitism. So I can relate with Israel as to what happened to them, because with me too, I was completely innocent. But because of global anti-Christian sentiment, everybody just watched an innocent woman suffer and they did nothing. And now that I'm about to obliterate, literally annihilate my cousin, annihilate all of my enemies, now that I am about to conquer all of these nasties, I'm going to be getting looked at on some Karabo. You're just a bitter woman. You keep on speaking nasty about all these people. I even had a dream where the Lord showed me people wagging their heads on some. How can she speak like this about her family? Are you serious? Have you listened to me the past 5 years, 10 years? Just like experiencing you through what my family have done to me and their neglect, their exorbitant neglect of me. How it is that they've watched me die. How it is that I lamented that I might actually end up committing suicide and they stood back on some. Well, I mean, it would be great if you didn't, but if you did, I mean, really good riddance. I've explained everything, and yet there are people standing back on some. Who talks like this about her own mom? Who talks like this about her own sisters? Who talks about this like this about her own cousins? I guess the same person that is using her testimony in order to heal others about how it is that the same people spoke about me like rubbish for years and tried to lodge all of that disrepute in the ground until I spoke a different narrative and so therefore cleared my name. The Lord said, He says in His word, commit your ways to the Lord and He will do this. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn and the justice of your cause like the noonday sun. So I'm being vindicated. And my vindication is grating people. And now they're going to try and play victim. How could God do this? She's disreputing us. All this reputational damage. Look at how she talks about us online. You spoke about this, about me, like that at Bryce with each other. You sent each other emails. You reviled my name. You spoke to all of Johannesburg like I was rubbish. So I need to vindicate myself in front of all of Johannesburg, don't I? I gotta vindicate myself to all of Joburg. All of Joburg gotta see that I was innocent. All of Joburg gotta see that I did not do that thing. How in the world am I ever gonna get my day in court if everybody thinks I'm this irresponsible that one day decided to squander a whole future in Jeffela and be irresponsible overnight when I was never that kind of girl? I'd always prided myself in being more responsible. I was always the more temperate one, more sober, less busy all over these streets. And the next thing you did, you revile my name just like that. I'm sorry. I am going to win my reputation back. So the Lord fought my battle. He made me record my life surveillance in front of everybody. And now that you're being humiliated for what you did to me, you're thoroughly gonna play the victim, just like Palestine is inevitably gonna be like, look at how they're bombing our children. Shut up. How in the world you gonna go against a country that is a country that has got such might in comparison to you militarily? As a small little dodgy army, how are you gonna go do that? Lacking wisdom and expect that the retaliation is not going to be severe and dire. The Hamas put Palestinians in danger. Is that basic? They put Palestinians in danger by doing this. So now that Israel is landing bombs, understand, the bombs gotta land. And when they land, carry on with your anti-Semitism, claiming that Israel is a bully that needs to be exterminated from the face of the earth. But the day's going to arrive when everybody honors that land. Why? Because it's God's. That's what's good. Similarly too, the day's going to arrive when I gain my respect. Why? Because I'm God's. I belong to Jesus. So there is no way under heaven, cousin, that you're ever going to prosper to convince the world that witchcraft does not exist, and also convince the world that you did not do it even if it does exist, because it is clear that you did. And now I am coming back retaliating, and if you don't stand down and at least escape with your life, you are going to die. The Lord made it clear to me that this insanity you're in is going to result in death. So take what you've been given, because if you take life, all of you get to live. Even if your husband divorces you, because he likely will, given that I had a dream of him feeling like, but why did I marry such an evil woman? I mean, really, dude, you introduced her to witchcraft, so really, birds of a feather, they flock together, you deserve each other. My only prayer is that your daughters don't end up the nasties that you ended up being. Because se tlo complain now, Satan e lore kwano mo introducing to the occult. I don't understand how that's a thing. She might have graduated to deeper heights of occult magic, but you nonetheless were the first person to tip that domino, so you better lie in the bed that you made. Well, what you get, cousin, what you get to survive with is your life. If you repent, shut up, sit in a corner. Allow the Lord to wash you clean since Uditsila right now. You get to live with your life. Your cult, your organization won't be able to touch you. The demonic organization that you joined won't be able to kill you. They won't be able to kill your child, and they won't be able to kill your husband. If anything, your husband and your kid are currently protected by my prayers. You, however, will die if you continue to rub that glass ball of yours and see if at all I have fallen apart. That's what's going to depress me perpetually, and God is going to knock you out the way. You are facing sudden death. The Lord had given you lung cancer so you could have time to take stock, but you got so evil that he decided that he's going to knock you out immediately. So now that you're facing imminent death, I guess these videos of mine are an obituary absent of your repentance. People will see what your life really was like, and so nobody will really be shedding too many tears at your funeral, because it will be good riddance, due to the fact that you will have been a menace to society. You could take the limp in your step like Jacob, accept the ramifications of your actions, but at least escape with your life. Hi, Bunny, you want to live and to see your daughter matriculate. You will stop this nonsense, because right now you have put her at death's door. You have risked the life of your family. You have risked the life of your oldest daughter, and that thing is now making you want to risk my life. And in Nahe, I don't belong to my mom. That's been clear. I also don't belong to my dad. That was also made clear. I belong to a heavenly Father, and he will neutralize you fast before he will allow you to compromise me, make me settle, so that you can weaken me to a point where I am now killable. He will kill you first. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'm signing out in Christ's name. I gotta exercise, crank K.